But yeah, man, maybe we can start quickly. Like what is reimbursements exactly? Sellers would be like, what do you mean? Like, what does it mean Amazon owes us money for what? Like, what do you mean lost and damaged goods? Like, what exactly that is? What are
Yeah.
reimbursements and how it works?
What am I being reimbursed for? So I mean, it all starts with Amazon's handling and processing of your goods. So when you ship your product to Amazon, you still own it, but it's in their control. And that's where issues happen. There's receiving errors, so they're not counting what you shipped correctly. When it's in their warehouse, they lose it, misplace it, damage it, and this is what generates those losses that you need to file a reimbursement for to get paid back for what Amazon has done to your product. In addition to just physical product being damaged or lost, there's fees. So you can be hit up with incorrect fees. If you're using partnered carrier and are paying Amazon effectively in advance for shipping that you don't
Hmm.
use, they don't always reimburse you or credit you back immediately. A lot of times
Interesting.
you have to trigger that in order to get your money back. So the what we like to the way we like to kind of phrase it is about 1% of your gross sales will be lost to the FBA process in one way or another. Most of that is from physical goods being misplaced or lost or receiving errors. But about 1% of your gross sales is lost to the FBA process. And that's where the reimbursements comes in to help you get that money back.
So $100,000 a year, someone selling, give or take 1%, which is what, thousand, is gonna
1,000 bucks.
be just lost to that, which is quite a lot of money, right? $1,000.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is from the revenue also. Like let's say if the revenue
From the
is
revenue.
is one $100,000 a year of the sellers, and 1,000 kind of dollars, but like $1,000 of goods we might have sold. It means so like let's say it might
It
be
would be, yeah,
what.
that metric is based on the actual net revenue. So, if you're selling $100,000 a year, or I should say, if you're expecting to sell $100,000 a year, if everything else goes right, you'd sell 99,000 because $1,000 of that would have been
Yeah,
lost or damaged or mishandled.
right. Okay, so
Yeah.
basically we can see that as you've mentioned, like as I think I've mentioned it. I mentioned like we can see like maybe a shipment that we received, and then we see instead of 500 units like 480 or something, but there's way more like fees that change. So for example, sometimes we'll say a $5 FBA fee on a product, then for a month, let's say something within the system or somehow it got changed. I had this for myself also. I'm not sure exactly what caused this, and then if we don't have any alerts for that, which is also a good idea to have something that gives the alert, but let's say we did not see it, or we still maybe we had the alert and we didn't know what to do with it. Like usually we can try to kind of change message Amazon to kind of speak with them and explain that, hey, here's my product. I think they can do the QB scan, it's called, right? They can
Mhm.
rescan the product, and then if it's within the numbers that we're claiming, they'll lower it down. But then let's say it was like 3 days of sales. I don't know, like $1,500 in fees misplacements. So then we have to again talk to Amazon and just like messages. That's how I assume like seller investigators in these things can help as well, right? Everywhere where there's
Yeah.
something that in different spheres, like as you mentioned, like say we have this partner carrier, we don't send the shipment and we can get reimbursed. I didn't even know that, to be honest. Like we can get reimbursed for that shipment if we
Unused.
didn't get. Yeah, yeah. So and
Yeah.
there's
The
many of
unused
these touch
label.
points. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'll kind of
Yeah.
I'll go through the different types of reimbursements
Please.
as sellers are most familiar with them. So what you were just talking about with the FBA fees, that's like the pick and pack fee, or
You can back.
sometimes it's called weights and dims. And that all comes down to Amazon having the incorrect measurements or weight of your product. So then when they try and place it in the different FBA tiers, the shipping fee tier, it might get bumped up to a higher tier because they think that the product is a little larger or a little heavier than it really is.
Mm,
And that can
I
happen
see.
for multiple reasons. If you're a reseller and other resellers are shipping in the same product, Another seller might have shipped in an older box, maybe a different size, or maybe they've
Ooh,
repackaged it in a different size box and they ship it in. So
interesting.
now you've got this mixed inventory with your product, which maybe is in, the current
Hmm.
up-to-date packaging, and you have, the correct sizes for it, but someone else has reboxed it, or even just if a box flap opens up as it's in Amazon's warehouse, when it goes through that cubic scanner, Amazon's going to scan it with the lasers and weigh it, and it's going to register as a much larger size. Amazon will then say, oh, bigger box, bigger
Yeah,
fee, and they'll up your fee on that. And then they always seem to raise the fee. They don't as often lower the fee.
true.
Um, so it always works in Amazon's favor. So you get one bad unit that goes through the scanner,
Hmm.
increases the size, increases the fee for you and for everyone else selling it. And then, you'll see that spike in your pick and pack fees. And the only way to get that corrected is to issue a remeasure request. So you're basically telling Amazon, hey, go grab that product off the shelf, scan it again. I want to see that, you get the correct dimensions this
Hmm.
time. So now Amazon will, let's say they correct the dimensions to what they should be, but you're still out that money that they overcharged you. And that's where the second part of this process is a reimbursement. So you first get them to correct the dimensions, then you say, I want my money back for the last 100 shipments or so that you overcharged me by a nickel or a quarter, and and that's the reimbursement side. That category of reimbursements is probably one of the most frequent to happen, but it's a smaller dollar amount. Most of the time you're talking about 5 or 10 cents as is the difference in the FBA fee, or maybe it's as much
Hmm.
as $1 on some larger items. So it doesn't have that wow factor to say like,
Hmm.
oh, I need to go correct this because I'm off by $1.
Yeah,
But that adds up over time, and every single shipment, every single order that Amazon's shipping out for you, you're overpaying for. So staying on top of that one is very important. There's also a limit on how many remeasure requests you can have every month. It's only 20. So if
interesting.
you have a catalog with hundreds or thousands of SKUs, it can be really difficult to keep all of them accurately, listed with Amazon on the weights and dims. So staying on top of it, having the visibility into which of your SKUs are being overcharged is the only way that you can really, tackle it and stay on top of it.
All right. And there are any
Um,
other types of these are like the some of the initial ones we spoke about. There's more, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the biggest category dollar wise
Hmm.
is lost inbound or missing inbound shipments. And this is where you gave the example of like, we ship in 500 units to Amazon. Amazon receives that shipment and says, oh, we only got 400 of them.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now? Uh, Amazon is Amazon. They're just going to say you have 400 units in your sellable inventory and tough luck. Um, for a missing inbound shipment, the way that you have to file a claim is you have to provide a proof of delivery to show that the product actually got to Amazon, and you have to show proof of ownership that you owned the product before you shipped it to Amazon. And there's some nuances in those documents, and we can get into that in some more detail. But the short of it is,
Hmm.
for a reseller, if you're purchasing your product from a wholesaler, you can use your wholesaler's invoice. So
Hmm.
I bought, what did we say, 500 units? I bought 500 units from my supplier. He gives me an invoice. I can show that to Amazon to say, yes, I did own these product before sending it to you. The proof of delivery comes from your shipping carrier. So if you're using Amazon partnered carrier, that's great because Amazon is basically the carrier at that point, even if they source it out to UPS or, an LTL company. So they will typically have the POD on file, which makes it very easy. And especially for us,
Hmm.
we've kind of automated that part of it to get the PODs directly from Amazon. But if you're not using partnered carrier, you simply get your POD or which is proof of delivery, or a BOL, the bill of lading, from your carrier that shows that it was delivered to Amazon. Open up a claim with Amazon, like right in the shipments page of Seller Central, you click on take action, file a claim, and provide them with the proof of delivery, the proof of ownership, and how many units were missing from that shipment. Technically, that's all that's needed. That's the bare minimum to get a claim filed. Most of the time, Amazon, if it's a small shipment, they will, or a small discrepancy, I should say, they'll just look at it and say, yep, your paperwork is in order. We'll give you credit for what is missing. And that's where the reimbursement comes in. So they'll give you cash back for the missing units. If it's a larger discrepancy, Amazon's going to fight it. They're going to kind of make you jump through hoops. They'll make you pull up an actual bill of lading that has the individual units listed on it. So how many of each SKU, or how many boxes, or how many pallets, depends on how you're shipping it in,
Mm-hmm.
what the weight of that shipment was. And if there's any discrepancies in what Amazon expects from what's on the shipping plan,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna deny your claim. So best practice, I cannot emphasize this enough to all sellers. When a carrier is picking up your goods from your facility, you must get them to sign the bill of lading, proving that they picked up all the units that you put on that shipment plan. If the trucker doesn't sign off on it to say, yep, I picked up all 500 units, Amazon will just use that as an excuse to say, hey, we can't verify that, the trucker had all 500. He made it here because we have this, proof of delivery. The truck got here, but we have no, proof of what was on the truck.
Yeah.
That's a tough practice for a lot of sellers to get, into, because it sometimes slows down that shipping process. The truckers don't want to have to count things and sign off on it. They want to just grab it and go and pretend like, everything is good. But I can't stress it enough. Get that bill of lading signed. Make sure it is as detailed as possible. That also goes back to the weights and dims. If your product has a much lower weight listed on Amazon than what it really weighs, or maybe I should say it the other way around. If the weight in Amazon is heavier than what it really is, then Amazon's going to expect that shipment to weigh more than it actually does. And if they think that you shipped in a lighter pallet of goods or a lighter box of goods, they'll use that as the excuse to say, well, it's underweight, so you must have miscounted and not sent all 500 units. You're 10 pounds short, so that must be a few units missing.
Damn, man, interesting.
Yeah. It's all compounding on top of each other. One thing leads into another. But yeah, missing inbound shipments, by far the largest loss of revenue for FBA sellers. So that's just getting your product into Amazon. Once it's in Amazon's warehouse and in their control, then you run into the lost in the warehouse and damaged in the warehouse categories. These are probably, collectively, they're the second largest source of loss. And then depending on what type of product you have, how easily it's damaged, you might see, more damages than lost, or more lost than damages. But collectively, they're by far the second largest source of lost revenue. The good thing with lost and damage is that late last year, late in 2024, Amazon started auto reimbursing for all of the goods that they self-identify as lost or damaged. So damaged, real easy to follow the logic here. They pull something off the shelf. The person packing it up says, nope, this box is crushed, or I can tell it's damaged. They hit a button on their little console there, and it flags that SKU, that FN SKU, as one unit damaged. They throw it in a damage bin. It updates your inventory ledger as one unit damaged. Amazon will find that in the ledger and say, okay, let's give you back money for that one damaged unit. This has been a great, change to the program for sellers, because Amazon is automating that process. They recognize the damage, or they recognize the units lost, and they immediately, or within a day usually, will generate the reimbursement for you. They're not perfect though. So don't think that you can just rely on Amazon to be 100%, accurate and honest and truthful in what's damaged and what's lost. Since, I guess it's been about a year since this new policy has come into effect, we have found that Amazon is still missing about 10% of the lost or damaged units. So they're auto reimbursing you 90%. That's great, but 10% is still, being lost, or not, I should say, not reimbursed. So that's where you have to, kind of audit them on it. And the inventory defect portal has made it a lot easier because they give you that great transparency to see what units they have self-identified as lost or damaged. 90% of them, or maybe even more, that show up in that portal will get reimbursed by Amazon. But sometimes stuff sits in there and they never reimburse it. And there's really no reason why. They just miss it, or I don't know, it falls through the cracks somehow. And that's for the stuff that they've self-identified. We still find other units that they've lost, or typically lost, that they've lost and they don't put into the inventory defect portal. So you wouldn't even know about it unless you're reconciling, the inventory ledger with your sales reports, and
Hmm.
that's where you really need a system like ours to run all those reports and do all the reconciliation, because it would be time consuming to do that manually.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense, man. Because already we had so many points, like let's say the missing inbound, so we have to get the kind of the bill of lading and all the all the paperwork. So generally, it makes sense for sellers from what I'm listening. Like it's a good idea for us to be organized with each shipment and having the right documents. Like I think in my previous tutorial with Lee, which we did like I think about 2 years ago. Again, it's in the description about seller investigators. Like I think we also spoke about this. Like he mentioned it's very important just to kind of keep everything organized. Same with the fees on Amazon. You gotta maybe monitor your you're going to monitor your seller central for the right fees. Plus, it's interesting. I was thinking while you were saying like of the dimensions, right? So I remember we had to like we were trying to optimize a product on Amazon. So we wanted to lower down the dimensions of the product with the manufacturer so we can pay less fees. Now the thing is, it was really lowered down to a little kind of I think it was weight difference or size difference. It's been a while. I can't recall, but it's so close in the weight. So if a little change in the maybe, in the same unit, maybe they just added a bit more stainless steel to it or something, or a little bit plastic. So then it will overgo again to the incorrect dimension. So we can even in our manufacturing process kind of think of that. But then yeah, as you mentioned, certain investigators can help with the process because if I understand correctly, we connect to our seller center with it. We connect to seller investigators, and then as I mentioned, there's a free audit, which first you will show by auditing our account what exactly Amazon might owe us, like or they do us. I understand, and then you can just tell us if you want you to get to work or not. I think that's what's interesting. You kind of just give that option also, as far as I recall, with the in the call with Lee. So like here's what we found. Like you can go and do it, or you can help. Like let us do it for you, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, the audit is one of the most valuable pieces of information that you can get, to kind of understand how drastic is this issue with your store. I talk to a lot of sellers, small sellers that are just starting up and they're doing everything themselves, right through, some of the largest sellers on Amazon who have literal departments of people dedicated to just their inventory management and reimbursements. And I will bet you a beer that there's not a
Nice.
single seller that has ever had a 100% clean audit. There's always something that has
Nice.
been missed or slipped through, and it is, just no matter how good you think you are at staying on top of it, there's so much that goes into it, that stuff gets missed. And as a I guess to kind of I'll walk you through kind of the what to expect from the audit, and the next uh, few weeks and months after that. When we first run the audit, what we do is we download a lot of reports from your store. We reconcile them against each other. We check all of the shipments. We check that against the reimbursements and the inventory ledger and the case history to see, you know, what has been lost and identified and already claimed and reimbursed, what has been lost and identified, claimed for but not reimbursed, what's been lost and identified but not filed for. And we put all of this together to say, here's how much you have been losing from your business, and here's how much is still eligible to be filed for that you can get back. And those two numbers are not the same because there are claim windows on
Ooh.
when you must open the case with Amazon. So if you're selling in North America, there's a 9-month look back window for missing inbound shipments from the date that the shipment closes. So
Mm-hmm.
Amazon receives that shipment, January 1st. You have 9 months to open a case with them to say, hey, you made an error in receiving. Once you open that case, it can stay open forever. There's no time limit on how long it takes to go through the actual case processing. But that's for missing inbound.
Mm-hmm.
In North America, in Europe, that's only a 6-month look back window.
Mm.
To file a claim for your lost or damaged in the warehouse, that's only a 2-month look back window.
Ooh.
The FBA overages is a 3-month or technically 90-day look back window. So all of these things you have to know so that you don't miss out on it. So when we do our audit, we can look back and say, all right, based on the last year and a half of data, you've been losing, let's just say it's, $5,000 to the lost and damaged category. But in the last 2 months, there might only be, $500 that can still be filed for because that is what is still eligible.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But you could expect from that audit data, you're losing, what I say, $5,000 a year. So that over the next year, there
Interesting.
should be $5,000 in recovery available to you. So you can kind of figure it out and forecast and understand how much of your inventory or your revenue is being lost to Amazon. If you haven't been filing for reimbursements in the past, that audit is going to come back with a fairly large number because there's that look back window. And that is a great feeling when we can start, bringing in a ton of money for sellers and sometimes it takes just days or weeks to get the majority of that look back window filed and reimbursed, like filed, approved by Amazon, and the money back into your Seller Central account. That's a huge cash flow. A lot of sellers didn't realize, they had available to them. And you can turn around and invest that right back into, your business, more product or marketing of your products and marketing of your listings and nice little boost in sales from what a lot of sellers call free money. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they didn't know they were losing it. So if we can find it and get it back, it's free money in their pocket.
Nice, man. Also, I wanted to mention that once they're connected, like the sellers are connected to seller investigators, as you mentioned, the big chunk of revenue, if found, and most likely will be found, will come in after the free audit. Like there's going to be most of the cases that based on that date and time, seller investigators can tackle and hopefully get the money back. And that will be the majority of the maybe of the money. But with time, if we stay connected to the system of seller investigators, constantly you guys are monitoring, and if boom, like
Yep.
20 units lost, and you're able to kind of get them back, and if Amazon didn't do their own automatic reimbursements, then we're just gonna see like kind of all these cashbacks sort of in kind of thing coming back. And again, I would mention to our listeners, viewers, check out the link in the description. Try the free audit. It's an affiliate link. Means that if you ever do business with the guys, I'm going to get a little commission from that. There's no extra cost to you, the viewer, but in this way, you can support kind of the free content that I do here and these interviews. And I truly appreciate it. So again, it's in the description. There might be some offer plugged into that. There was some kind of coupon code in the past. I'll try to see if it's still active. I'll link in the description. But also, Mike, I wanted to mention that once we're getting reimbursed, it used to be based, if I'm not mistaken, in the past on the kind of manufacturer
Net
retail
proceeds.
price, right?
Yeah.
Now it's based on the invoice cost of the unit, right? So could you
Yep.
explain to us, please, what it means now? And it's quite a big
Sure.
hit, if I understand
It
correctly.
is a huge change. So this change took effect April 1st of 2025. And
Yeah.
the way Amazon used to calculate their reimbursements was the selling price of the goods minus any of the fees you would have paid Amazon for selling it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
effectively, they would give you your net proceeds, the
Mm-hmm.
cost
Yeah.
of your
That
goods
was- mhm.
plus the profit you would have made
Yeah.
had you sold that product on Amazon.
Good times.
Um, which was almost better for sellers
Yes.
because they didn't have to advertise that product, you
Yes.
know? So it was like it almost worked out in their advantage to say, all right,
Kind of,
I
yeah.
shipped you this product, you lost it, give me the full profit I would have made. And
Which is
I
kind of
didn't have to
fair.
spend a dime, on ads.
Yes.
So anyway, so those days are over, unfortunately. What Amazon uses now is what they call the source cost. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not even cost of goods. They picked their words very carefully. The
Ooh.
source cost, as they define it, is the per unit price that you pay your supplier for that good. So it does not include the shipping, it doesn't include
Yeah.
advertising, it doesn't include, getting the goods to Amazon. If you buy that widget from your supplier for $10, Amazon will give you $10 back for it. And how do they know what you pay your supplier? Well, they don't. They make an estimate on what they think that product should cost. And then they tell you what they think it should cost. And it's now on you to prove them wrong and change that if you're actually paying $11 for that item.
Mm.
So this is a way that Amazon has really added one more hoop that you have to jump through. It has significantly reduced the value of the reimbursements that they give. We have seen an across the board drop of about 40 to 60% in the reimbursement value. So what that means is you're no longer getting back, the profit you would have made on it. You're no longer getting back all the cost of shipping it in and marketing it. It is now just what you paid your supplier, if you're lucky, and that's it. So
Wow.
this has created a new, kind of recurring process that sellers have to go through to monitor what the source cost of each of their items is as determined by Amazon, and then uh, file a new type of claim. Basically, with Amazon, you have to submit documentation to Amazon to say, here's my invoice from my supplier where I
Interesting.
pay more than what you say.
Ooh.
Amazon will review that, and then they make a determination as to whether they want to agree with you or not. You might
Wow.
say, hey, I'm paying $11 a unit, here's the proof. And they'll come back and say, nope, we just simply don't agree. We'll put it at 10.50 or we'll keep it at $10. That is
Wow.
another fight that you have to have with Amazon now. And that's even before they've lost or damaged that goods. So you have to do a lot of work just in the anticipation that later on they will potentially lose or damage that product.
Is this something that seller investigators can help with also with this part, or this is on us for each unit, or how, what do you think?
Yeah, it's still very new, this whole concept of
Mm-hmm.
the source cost, and Amazon hasn't added that into their API yet. So
Interesting.
unfortunately, we don't have a way of scaling that type of work for us to do that. It is 100% on our product roadmap to add that into our service mix if or when that data can become available through the API. So right now, what we recommend to sellers is you can go into that source cost page in Seller Central. There's a button in the top right called like bulk update. If you click that, it'll download an Excel sheet of all of your products, what Amazon's estimated source cost is, and then you can add in your own source cost to that sheet and upload it back to Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will, if it's a small change, Amazon will just accept it. So you don't always have to provide proof. But
Interesting.
um, we've been seeing like if you're increasing it by like 10% or more, it usually gets kicked back by Amazon, and then you have to provide the documentation. Now, I've been talking a lot about the point of view from a reseller on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
You might be asking, like, what if I'm the manufacturer of this product? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
buying it from a wholesaler. In that case, you have a little more flexibility. Amazon is going to kind of give you the benefit of the doubt that you're building this product from raw goods, and you can submit a document that shows your cost of manufacturing that product. So obviously you have a little more flexibility there in how you determine that cost, but Amazon is still going to have the final judgment to say we agree or disagree with your cost of that goods. So that's a big topic to for sellers to stay on top of, because oh, and the other thing I should mention, in
Mhm.
Amazon's what do you want to call it, like their terms about this whole process,
Mhm.
um they've reserved the right to adjust that source cost anytime they want. So you might go through this whole process, show
Oh,
them the documentation, get them to increase the cost, and a few months later, they might just simply reduce it again and say, you know, we believe by looking at other sellers that this product actually costs less to produce. So we're going to reduce your source cost again. So never ending battle with Amazon.
yeah, man. A lot of fees were cut. Like fees as what we used to get, as you mentioned. Like you used to get like the sale price of the product, and then minus the Amazon fees. So it's like would be like a whole like a sale, full price sale without PPC kind of thing. And then yeah, of course we like wouldn't get the ranking for that, etc. If as if it was sold, but we would just get the money in big chunk quickly. Sometimes like 100 units,
Yeah.
say, boom, that's like it, yeah, it's nice. But now it's this
Yeah.
different, so it's only per this kind of manufacturing cost, and then again, as you mentioned, Amazon might determine it, might not give you the ability to claim your real price and etc. So a lot of kind of cuts to our margins even more in this sense because
Yeah.
again, we used to get a little bit more from that. Now there's a bit less. You said it's 40-60% or something from what you're seeing, so it's quite a lot.
Yeah. And it
So
takes a lot of time.
yeah,
Time is money as well. So you invest a lot of time in finding these
it's a good
losses,
point.
filing the claims, going back and forth with Amazon. And that's time that you could better spend growing your business
100%.
than than fighting for a few dollars lost here and there.
What then if seller investigators decides to help us or we decide to kind of use your services? Again, the free audit will give us the idea how much Amazon owes us, and then we can ask you to help us with that. How then the process will go from that point? Say we went through the free audit and we see X amount of dollars for smaller sellers, it'll be maybe 1,000, 2,000, maybe a few $100. A big seller, you can, as we mentioned on the previous call, maybe you could share that case study as well. That would be interesting, kind of with this answer, like how surprising of numbers one seller had gotten. So
Yeah.
what happens from we go through the free audit? Say first we understand, okay, we want to try working with seller investigators. We want to see what's going on in our account. We haven't really been too much on it, maybe a little bit, maybe not at all. So then there's again link in description. Thank you for using free audit. We get the free audit. What happens next?
So what happens
Results.
is, once you get the audit back, you can review the data. If you want to have us do the work for you, all you have to do is enter a payment method, a credit card, into the dashboard, and that will automatically activate your account. We will then start filing claims for lost in the warehouse, damaged in the warehouse, customer returns, lost in transit, the FBA overages we can get started on, AWD claims if you're using AWD. These are
Interesting.
all recovery categories that we can handle 100% autonomously. No, nothing from the seller is needed for us to get started on that.
Okay.
Um, we will then also review all of your inbound shipments, find those that have discrepancies. We'll pull those PODs from Amazon if they have it on file. If they don't have it on file, we'll prompt you to say, hey, we need a POD for this shipment. And then any other documentation that's needed. So again, for missing inbound, it's proof of delivery and proof of ownership. If you're a reseller, the proof of ownership will be an invoice from your suppliers. So
Mhm.
all you have to do is upload the invoice. Our team then reviews it, make sure that it's eligible. We highlight the individual rows for each item so that Amazon it has it easy for them to see. Increases our success rate with Amazon. If
Mhm.
you're the manufacturer or brand registered for that, brand registry effectively means that Amazon considers you the manufacturer. They give you the benefit of the doubt that you're not buying it from someone else, you're producing it. So with brand registry, you don't have to provide an invoice. you have to provide something called a packing slip. And that is basically just a document where you attest to the quantities that were shipped were actually shipped, or I should say, the quantities that are on your shipping plan, you actually shipped. Most sellers, have these packing lists themselves. They can create them. We can also automate that for you. So we use the data from the shipping plan. We generate the packing list for you. And then all you have to do is review it, confirm, yep, I shipped 100 units of that one. I shipped 200 units of that one. Little digital signature, click of the button, and we can then file that claim with Amazon. We've got a lot of automations in place to make that process even easier. So, we already do all the work for you to find the shipments with discrepancies, get PODs if they're available, generate the packing list. But if you really want it to be hands off, we can automate the signing of those packing lists, which I highly recommend. The only time that you shouldn't do that is if you have short shipping issues. If you're constantly, making errors on the shipping plan, then don't auto sign it. Look at each one and just adjust the shipped quantity. You meant to ship 500, you only ship 250. You just adjust it on the packing list and then click the button to sign it. But most sellers, they just go with the auto sign. And then we can also integrate with over 175 carriers and 3PLs. So when we were acquired by SPS Commerce, they opened up this great technology that they had already built where they've integrated with all these carriers in order to get, POs and invoices. And we are now getting proof of delivery and BOLs through that same integration. So if you're using one of these carriers, we simply, store the credentials in our system, and then the system will log in through your carrier, search for the shipments, download the documents, and we do that every single day. So that way, if the POD wasn't available yesterday, but it is today, boom, our system picks it up, lets our team know that it's ready to be filed to Amazon, and then we file it. So for larger sellers with high volumes of shipments, those automations can save a ton of time. Sounds easy to just go grab a POD, but it can add up if you're shipping in dozens or potentially hundreds of shipments in a month.
Yeah.
So those automations, that helps everything get filed. Our team then manages all the back and forth with Amazon. And when Amazon approves those reimbursements, the money goes directly back into your Seller Central account. It does not come through us. You don't have to wait on us to get the money. Amazon approves it, immediately goes into your payments report, and you can see it there. And then you get it back in the normal payout schedule. We take a fee for what is recovered, only what's recovered. So, all these scenarios where, product gets lost, we file cases with Amazon. They go and investigate the loss and they find those missing units. You get your product back because Amazon found it, but there was no reimbursement, so we don't charge you anything. That's like a win. It's a win for you. In those cases, you get everything back. We don't charge you because it wasn't a reimbursement. We only charge when there was a successful reimbursement. And even if Amazon finds that product after reimbursing it, they give you the product back. They take back the cash they gave you. We credit you back our reversal fee as well, we should say our fee, because that way you can now go and sell that product at full margin. No harm, no foul, basically.
That's what we see as compensated clawback in something like this. Is this the right? I don't know. Can we see that? I see that sometimes in my profit analytics software. Like I see compensated clawback. Is this the like Amazon gave back the money, found it later, and then they claw back? I guess that's they give the
Yep.
product and they take the money.
Yep. It's called a clawback or a reimbursement reversal.
Mm-hmm.
And it, doesn't happen that often
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, but it happens often enough that, you don't want to be selling that product after having paid a recovery fee for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an important thing to look for.
All right. So, man, I'll again link the link to get the free audit with seller investigators in the description, plus maybe some. We used to have some offer, like basically some reimbursement without fee of seller investigators. I'll see if this is still available. I'm not sure. It's going to be linked in the description. And kind of before we wrap up the video, maybe there's some very popular questions that you're getting, man, from sellers that kind of you have, or maybe there's something else you wanted to mention in this video that you had on your maybe list of things and I didn't ask you. So basically, yeah, that's like
Yeah, like
yeah.
what one thing you mentioned it before, and it's a common question is like, they say, "Oh, man, I haven't been doing this before. Like, am I behind the times? Am I missing out?" Yes, you are missing out, but you're not alone. Many sellers of all sizes, come to us and say, "I haven't been doing this. I didn't know it was a thing." Just recently, we ran a free audit for an eight-figure seller in the cosmetics industry who, cosmetics, small products, expensive, they get
Mhm.
lost and damaged easily. They
Mm.
they had a significant amount of losses that they had just not been doing anything about.
Mhm.
So, it's okay if that's where you are now, but there's no time like the present because you want to get in there before those look back windows expire. And then the other thing that people ask is like, what can I do to reduce this going forward?
Yeah.
And there are some best practices that we suggest for shipping. The easier you can make it on Amazon to count the product in that shipment, the better. So one SKU per shipment would be the best way to go. They can't mix it up if it's only one SKU. If it is going to be a mixed shipment, make sure that things are clearly labeled, especially case packs. If it's a case pack that they're supposed to break down and sell as individual units, you got to make sure that it's clearly labeled. Otherwise, they might just receive that as one unit when it was supposed to be 10. That creates
Mhm.
huge losses.
Mhm.
Um, and then lastly, we're here to support you on anything else that comes up. Um, a lot of the a lot of our people are Amazon sellers or were Amazon sellers and then came into this side of the business. So, we've been through it, we've seen it. Bring us any question you have. We're always happy to help in any way that we can.
Thanks, man. Just like one last one. It's you kind of did mention that, but like why seller investigators? Right? There's different companies in the space that can help. And just curious, I know you've been in the game for quite a long time, and we had an interview with Lee a few years ago, and there's and it's been alive before that even. So you have like credibility with the
Yeah.
years and the experience in the business, but just like why seller investigators?
Well, for starters, our business model is focused on purely reimbursements. So, we have a dedicated team that is only focused on reimbursements day in and day out. So we're well trained in it. We actually even have people that are specialized in each type of reimbursement. So they're always staying on top of what is changing and how we need to file these claims. What are the requirements? So that gives us the ability to do the job very well. We've also built a wonderful system behind the scenes that helps us kind of be fast and efficient. So we are downloading a lot of data from Amazon, crunching all the numbers, and then basically teeing up all of the work that needs to be done by the humans to the humans. That way we can process as much as possible, right down to losses for, a dollar or even under a dollar. There's no minimum that we won't go after because it's too small. So that helps get every penny back. And then we also have a very good customer service team that is here to support you through that. So, if you have a document that you're not sure if it's going to be eligible or not, we've got people to review it, talk to you about it, explain, what is needed, what you can do, what to say to your carriers to get the right documents. And that's something that you often don't get with, a cut rate service that just has like a chat bot as their only offering for support. So, we do it better, we do it faster, more efficient, and try to provide the absolute best service that we can while doing it.
All right, man. Well, thank you for sharing like why it's important, and for sellers who are maybe trying to understand which companies, to work with or what to do. So, I'd say that was a good explanation of why to work with you, all the years of experience plus the processes. for different reimbursement types and whatnot. So in the description, we're gonna have the link to pre-audit to try out Seller Investigators and see what Amazon owes you, and also there might be some promo code or something, coupon code to kind of add on the kind of check-in or on onboarding to get some benefit. Also, you can mention my name, Vova or Vova Evan, vovaevan.com. Recently was drawing on some of my clothes, so I just added a little website here just for the interviews. And yeah, so for listeners, viewers, if you have any questions, please drop them and ask. We'll get back to you. And Mike, man, thank you for your time today, for explaining and kind of going with us through all the news things and how Seller Investigators can be helpful to us sellers. And yeah, I'm wishing you the best, man.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Thanks, man. Great talking with you again.
thank you very much. And to all our listeners, viewers, good luck and happy Thanksgiving as well. Hope you have good holidays.